Martin O'Neill has just fired a serious title warning ahead of the Falkirk match. We've also got the inside scoop on O'Neill's hidden transfer advantage that could change Celtic's January window. Benjamin Nigron opens up about the managerial chaos at the club, and Brendan Rodgers has aimed a subtle dig at Wilfried Nancy from Saudi Arabia. Plus, Nigron breaks his silence on those intense fan protests after the Rangers' defeat. It's been a revealing 24 hours, but first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Alright, Martin O'Neill has warned Celtic face a difficult task as they prepare for Wednesday night's trip to Falkirk. The manager spoke ahead of the away fixture with an emphasis on pressure rather than comfort. His words reflected a title race that has tightened sharply. Celtic go into the game knowing recent results have changed the landscape. Dropped points earlier in the season have removed any sense of distance at the top. Each fixture now carries weight that cannot be shrugged off. The Falkirk match arrives quickly after renewed optimism following recent performances. Momentum has improved, but O'Neill is clear that improvement alone is not enough. The margins have narrowed and demand focus. This is not the Celtic of recent seasons, where setbacks could be absorbed. O'Neill has been careful to highlight that contrast. The expectation now is control without room for error. He said, "Because we've given ourselves a bit of difficulty in winning some games recently, we have a real fight on our hands." This time last year and quite a number of years, Celtic would be seemingly from a distance, serenely going to the title and being able to not worry too much about the occasional hiccup. You might drop some points unexpectedly somewhere, but you're still so far in front that things are good. Here we cannot. We've got ourselves into a situation where the margin of error is very, very small. That's the main problem. The message from O'Neill is one of realism. There is no attempt to soften the situation. The league position reflects what has already happened. Wednesday night away from home brings its own demands. Falkirk will see the visit as an opportunity. Celtic must respond accordingly. O'Neill's return has steadied parts of the performance. Results have followed, but the ground lost earlier still matters. Recovery does not erase what came before. The focus now is on repetition. Good performances must become routine rather than reaction. That is the challenge O'Neill has set. Players are being asked to manage pressure differently. There is no cushion to fall back on. Each decision and moment carries consequence. The title race has shifted from control to contest. Celtic are no longer chasing calm finishes. They are navigating tension week by week. Falkirk away is part of that test. It is not about reputation, but execution. The response will say much about where Celtic stand. O'Neill has made clear that the situation is self-made, that honesty sets the tone. What follows must match it on the pitch. Now for the main story, as former Partick Thistle manager Ian McCall has shared his view on where Celtic are most likely to look for reinforcements during the January window through Martin O'Neill. Speaking as Martin O'Neill continues his early work after returning to the club, McCall focused on the influence O'Neill carries beyond Scotland. His comments offered a grounded take on how Celtic may approach recruitment in a difficult month. Celtic remain active without rushing into major moves. Performances have improved since O'Neill's return, but the squad is still short in key areas. The focus now is on support rather than overhaul. January is rarely a clean window for clubs chasing a title. Options narrow quickly and deals become more about availability than long-term planning. That reality shapes how clubs behave. O'Neill's wider standing in the game has become part of the discussion. His role outside Celtic gives him reach that most managers do not have. McCall believes that could guide where Celtic turn next. He said his Martin O'Neill's contact books in England will be massive. I mean, he's the chairman of the LMA. I mean, he'll know every single person and all the players down there. You know, it's a notoriously difficult month. Of course it is. I would say, for me, that is where they're going to recruit from because it's short term. But I don't think they need 7 or 8 players. I think they need 2 or 3. McCall's comments point clearly towards England as the most likely market. Familiarity and relationships matter when time is tight. Loans and short-term deals are often easier to complete there. Celtic have already shown a willingness to look in that direction. Recent links suggest flexibility rather than commitment. That matches the tone of O'Neill's early remarks. In other news, Benjamin Nigron has reflected on a turbulent first season at Celtic after arriving in the summer and seeing major change within months. The midfielder joined expecting stability, but instead found himself working under different managers. 7 months into his time at the club, the environment has shifted more than once. Celtic's season has been shaped by upheaval rather than continuity. Brendan Rodgers' exit in October was followed by a short interim spell under Martin O'Neill before the appointment of Wilfried Nancy, with O'Neill later returning again. For new signings, that level of change can be difficult to navigate. Nigron has had to adapt quickly. Roles, systems, and expectations have all moved around him. That has required flexibility rather than comfort. Despite the instability, Nigron has remained involved on the pitch. He has continued to feature while adjusting to different demands. His comments offer insight into how he has processed the changes. He said, "I don't know, it's been different, of course. It's not how it normally is that you have so many different swaps within the coaching staff. But for me personally, I've had many coaches in my career and I've played many different styles and so on. It's not been that weird for me. I've tried to focus on doing as good as I can in the games and create chances, scoring goals, and making assists. That's what I have to keep on doing." Nigron's response is measured rather than emotional. He acknowledges the unusual nature of the season without dwelling on it. The focus remains on his own output. Celtic's dressing room has had to adjust together. Players signed for one vision have had to respond to another. That challenge has been shared across the squad. For Nigron, experience elsewhere has helped. He has already worked under different coaches in his career. That background has softened the impact. The emphasis he places on performance is clear. Chances, goals, and assists are the markers he returns to. That mindset keeps attention on the pitch. Celtic are now in a phase of consolidation. O'Neill's return has brought familiarity and structure. Players are settling into clearer roles. In other news, Brendan Rodgers has offered words that will not go unnoticed by Celtic supporters, even if no names were mentioned. Speaking in his role at Al Qadsiya, the former Celtic manager reflected on tactics and adaptability. The comments arrive months after his exit from Glasgow and shortly after the collapse of Wilfried Nancy's short spell. Rodgers' time at Celtic ended in October 2025 amid growing pressure and drift. His departure opened the door to a sharp change in approach under Nancy. That shift, built around a rigid back three, never settled. Nancy's insistence on a 3-4-3 became the defining feature of his brief reign. Players struggled to find comfort in unfamiliar roles. Results followed the uncertainty. Since leaving Celtic, Rodgers has rebuilt his reputation quickly in Saudi Arabia. His Al Qadsiya side have shown control and clarity. Success there has given weight to his words when he speaks about structure. He said, "I've mostly in my career have set up my teams to play really attacking in a 4-3-3 formation, but of course your tactics have to be based around the tactics you have. Currently this group of players are more suited to playing 3-5-2. That's the strength of the players that we have. In my time here, I will arrive in a 4-3-3, but at this month, I don't really want to force it on the players when there is a different system and structure that can be very beneficial for us. I always say it's not so much about the system, but the style. The style for my teams, whether they play in a 3-5-2, 4-3-3, or 3-4-3, that style is always offensive, aggressive, and with discipline. Rodgers' message is clear without being loud. Systems should fit players rather than players bending to systems. That idea cuts close to recent Celtic memory. At Celtic, Nancy inherited a squad built for a back four. He chose to reshape it quickly. The results never matched the intent. And that's all the latest Celtic news for today. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more daily Celtic updates. What do you think about O'Neill's title warning? Can his English connections deliver the signings we need? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'll be back tomorrow with more news from Paradise. Hail, hail.